guys, today I am going to go over the basics of Pear Deck, which is a Google add-on that can help with increasing student interaction, and it also allows you to track their answers in more of a formative way. So what you need is a slideshow, and you can kind of develop this as you go, or you can just open up a slideshow that you've already created within Google Slides. And what you want to do is make sure that you have the Pear Deck add-on. And you're going to go up to add-ons and Pear Deck for Google Slide add-on. Or if you don't have it, you can go to get add-ons and you can get it there. It's just called Pear Deck. And then you open it. Now, what it does is it opens this bar of information on the right-hand side here. And essentially, you're going to focus right here where it says ask students a question. And what this does is it allows you to build questions into your slides that ask the students to in turn respond. And then once they respond, you as the teacher will see all of the answers to those responses. So you can use it as a quick formative assessment as you're working through maybe some notes or things that you're going to go over with the students. Or you really could build it in as an assessment. These can be things that are teacher-led, so you're going to go ahead and lead the students through it, or you can actually assign it as a student-led assignment, and they have to answer the questions. And like I said, that could be used as an assessment if you really wanted it to. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you the basics of it and how to add those questions in. So this is my very, very simple elements of plot slideshow. And what I started with is what do you already know about the elements of plot? Can you list any of the elements? Now, if we were in a face-to-face situation, it'd be great to ask students to raise their hand and you can call on kids. But since we are virtual, what you can do is you can use Pear Deck to add a place where students can respond to this. All right, so I put the question in the slide, and then over on the right-hand side here, it says text. I want them to type their answer in, okay? It's kind of an open-ended question. So I just go ahead, I click on that ABC icon. This just shows me that it's adding it, and that's it. It is there. Now, the confusing part about this is that you don't get to see what it looks like on the student side, okay? But just know that when you're doing the ABC, the text one, it's just giving the students a place to click and then respond to it. And when they do respond and when you are presenting this, you will see every student's response. Okay, now the next one, I'm going to go ahead and start my notes. I talk about exposition. And just to review, when I get to the next slide, I put a question in there. Rather than just moving on to the next part, I said, which one of the following is not part of the exposition? Now I set this up as like a multiple choice type question because I want to utilize the multiple choice Pear Deck question, which is this guy right here that says choice on it. So I'm going to click on that. And this is where I can fill in my options. So my question is, which one of the following is not part of the exposition? Well, I'm going to put background info. I'm going to put main characters. And then I'm going to put the conclusion, which is the obvious wrong answer here. And then I go ahead, and if I wanted to add more options, I could add more options. I'm just going to stick with 3. I'm going to update the slide. And once again, it says students choose an option, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what they're choosing. But if you look down at the very bottom, it does say that this is a Pear Deck multiple choice slide. Your current options are A, background information, B, main character, C, conclusion. And when the students answer that, you will once again see their option. Now, if you decide to go back in and you want to change this up or something, you just go back to the same thing, the same question. It opens up your options once again, and you can update or change them. All right, so inciting incident. here's my information on that, and then I want to go ahead and do a fill in the blank. An inciting incident is the reader's introduction to the blank in a story. All right, I don't want to give them, you could give them options here. You could use the draw tool and then they'd have to try to write, which is always a challenge. Or you can use the draw tool and they can put a text box in. That's always an option. Or you can just go the ABC text route. Either one, either the draw or the ABC is fine. I'm going to use the draw tool because the kids like to draw little pictures on here too. And then they can use the text tool to add a text box into my line. So I'm going to use the draw tool. And this just shows you that they're going to be doing that on their student device. Okay, and this is what it would look like on the projector. And when they do this, you will see their slide and you'll see basically exactly what they have written on their slide. All right. Now, next one I have quick review. What type of conflicts in literature have we learned about? I'm just going to keep this as an open-ended one, so I'm going to add an ABC one in there. Which, remember, this is just a text box essentially where they're responding. And again, we know that they have to write their response because it has a little Pear Deck thing on the bottom. All right. I gave another one. What is a protagonist? What is an antagonist? I'm going to very quickly just add a text in there with a text response. As you can see, this is really quick and easy. The part that takes the most time is creating your initial slideshow or slide deck if you don't already have it. And this one, where does the majority of the story take place within the plot diagram? This is a good multiple choice one. So once again, I'm going to go to the choice. And I'm going to add some answers in there. I'm going to say climax, rising action, and then exposition. Now, the one thing is this doesn't give you like a correct answer piece. So what I do is after my students have answered the question, I can kind of skim through and see how everybody's doing with it, very formative like. Then we share out the answer, or maybe I'll ask a specific student to share out their answer, and then everybody can kind of check their own. Now, the last one I have on here is this slide 14, and you guys are going to have access to this whole slide deck here when we're done with it. And it says, how do you feel about finding the elements of plot in a story? If you like this graphic here, you can always steal this and copy paste it off the slideshow that I post for you, and you can add it into any slide deck, and you could really just copy paste the whole entire slide. And then I did a draw on this, so students can go ahead and circle how they feel about using and applying the elements of plot to maybe a different story. Then I have one more practice, and this is the draggable element here. Okay, so what I did is I said, drag each flag to the place on the mountain that you think best represents the element's placement within a story. So red is the exposition, orange is rising action, yellow climax, green falling action, and blue resolution. Now I did not put the inciting incident in here because it only allows you to do 5 draggable icons. So the way I did that then is under the draggable, just click on it. And then it opens this up, and you can add up to 5 different things. I've already maxed that out, but if I didn't have all of them, yeah, let me get rid of that. You just click add another. Now, they have different shapes, so it doesn't have to be a flag. I just thought that was the most fitting considering we're using a mountain. But they have all these different elements that you can utilize. And then once you choose the one you want to use, and you have it set up, you click update slide. You could use this in any sort of lesson where you wanted them to point different things out, maybe plot places on a map, point things out maybe in science. It really, has a variety of uses to it. And then the last one I did is I linked a story. So after we're done going over the elements of plot, I want them to go to the story Thank You Ma'am by Langston Hughes that we are going to read. And I linked the story right here so students can very easily find that story. All right, so those are the basics of how to actually create it. Now, when you are ready to share with students, what you will do is you will click Start Lesson within the Pear Deck element on the right-hand side. You're not going to present like you normally do. You click Start Lesson, and when you do that, it will show a screen here, and it'll say, do you want it to be a student-paced activity? So in that sense, you could post it as an assignment. Or you can do an instructor-paced activity, which is what I typically do because I use this as kind of my introduction to new things. But if you wanted to use this as some sort of an assessment of something you've already covered, the student-paced activity would be wonderful. So with the instructor-paced activity, you click on it. Okay, so once you choose that you want to present this within Pear Deck, this is the screen that will pop up. Now, when I do this, I share this screen via the Meet. And the students go to the website here, which is joinpd.com. Now, you could also use GoGuardian to open this link for everybody, or you could have the joinpd.com posted somewhere on your Google Classroom for students just to click on so they don't have to type it in. But either way, once they get into the website, it's just going to ask them to put a code in, and this is their code here. So it's HCVVFY, hilarious carrots, victoriously vacate fragrant yards. It always comes up with some crazy thing there. Now, you can also give students a link directly to it, and then you also have the open teacher dashboard option here. Now, as students are joining, you will see how many students are connected to it, and so you can kind of keep track of who is joining. When students do join, they will be asked to verify their Gmail account, and so this Pear Deck, it also collects their information in that you can then go and see which answers they put in. So it's not just a PowerPoint like we're used to, or a slide deck like we're used to, but it also collects all of the information and all of the questions that they're answering. So if you have some students not answering the questions as you're going through, you'll see that. You'll see their blank responses. So you can actually use this as something that you would give points for, or just an accountability feature. Okay, now once you have students logged into your Pear Deck presentation, this is what your screen looks like. So the students are essentially locked in with you, so they don't have to necessarily click any buttons to follow along. As you move the slide forward, theirs will move forward as well. So this is what it looks like. We're going to go ahead and start it. I'm just going to kind of skim through some of these so you can see what it looks like from the teacher's point of view. So this says students write your response. So this was our question, our open-ended one. And as you can see at the bottom of the screen here, you can lock their screen so they can't move on. So if they've already answered it, you can lock it so they can't add more to it. Or you can lock it before they respond so you can maybe talk about something first. And then if you click on show responses, now I don't have any students logged into this one, it just shows that we're waiting for responses. Now, if there were students logged in here and they were responding, they would just show up kind of in a row and they'd keep populating, and you could wait for everybody to respond. And then you click hide to move on to the next one. And again, here's the multiple choice, waiting for responses, and so on and so forth. Anywhere where you have added in a Pear Deck feature or a Pear Deck question, it will have this show responses, and you can click on it and see what the students are writing. Now, if you're in the middle of this and you're like, man, I really want to add a slide, or I should have added a question in. Maybe after climax, I didn't have a question here. So I was like, I should have added something in. There's new prompts right here, and you can kind of do a quick add. So do you feel, and these are just easy ones. So do you feel comfortable sharing your thoughts out loud right now? Maybe you want to throw that in there. So you just go ahead and click on it, And then the students will view that. And once again, you can view their responses and move on when you're ready to move on. Okay? Um, and once again, it will show responses. And this one will show a picture of their slide and it'll show what they are circling so you can kind of see where they're at. Any of those that have the draw anywhere type of response will show an actual picture of the student's screen. All right, so real quick, I wanted to show you what this looks like from the student's side of things. So when they go to the website, joinpd.com, they get this enter code box, and my code is HCVVFY. And then it goes ahead and it just loads me right in. The first thing that always pops up is, how are you feeling today? And so the students go ahead and click on that. And then it's loading the presentation. And it will take you to whatever slide the teacher is showing at that point. Okay, so as I move through on my teacher side over here, the student side will go right along with it. So this is what it looks like from the student's point of view. It says, what do you already know about the elements of plot? Can you list any? So here's that open-ended question. And this is where I would type my answer. Okay, so I'm just going to put climax and resolution for my answer. And you don't even need to say, or you don't even need to click anything, and this automatically populates on the teacher side of things. And they can always add another response if they want to. All right, let's move it ahead. Here is one of the multiple choice. Which one of the following is not part of the exposition? And they just go ahead and they click on the answer. And again, on the teacher side of things, you are automatically seeing those responses. Here is what the draw anywhere looks like. So if I wanted them to try to actually draw on here, it can be highly entertaining. Obviously, you got to pick a color. They can draw and try to fill in the blank, or they can use the text tool, and then they just click where they want to type, and they type their answer in as well. And again, they'll have to change their color of their text for it to show up. And there you go. That's what it looks like. So as you can see, using Pear Deck is a really great way to get your kids to be involved in the information that you're giving them rather than just a sit and get type of piece. It forces them to actually answer questions without having to call on them. And I know that having kids verbally respond in this virtual world isn't always the easiest. So this is a way that you can share their answers without, saying who is actually giving the response. But if you do get a good response, then you can also commend students for doing that. This also gives you the data that allows you to reteach if needed, and sets you up for further differentiation as needed. Okay, the final step in this process is ending the slideshow. So when you're done with your slideshow, go ahead and click on end, and it gives you this option to publish student takeaways. Now, if you have the premium version, it's going to offer you this. And when you first sign up for Pear Deck, I think you get like a 30-day trial of that. And what the takeaways are is it sends an individualized copy of the slideshow or slide deck to each student because they logged in with their email address, and it puts their own answers on there. So if you want them to be able to go ahead and review their answers or something along those lines, you could do that. I don't do that. You definitely could. So you just uncheck it if you don't want to, and then end the session. And then here we are back at our original slide deck. And I want to real quick pull up the Pear Deck add-on. And if you want to review your information or your former um, presentations, what you can do is you go to the little hamburger over here in the corner, click on it, and go to review sessions. Now, when you click on that, it will take you to the sessions and the answers and where all the information is recorded. So you can really check out how your students did with their Pear Deck answers. One quick thing to note though is that you need to make sure that you're requiring student logins, which is this little toggle right here. If you don't require them, then they will just put some sort of nickname or something in there, and it's not guaranteed that you will have the right name with the correct information. So I just go ahead and turn that on. So then the students, they all have their school Gmail accounts. It'll just link to their Gmail account. All right, so one last piece here, and then we're done. If you were to click on review sessions from the other screen, from your actual slideshow, this is what it would take you to. It would take you to the screen. It has a list of all of your different Pear Decks that you've presented, when you presented them, and then I don't really name most of them. You could put them by class period, by date. I just kind of go by the date that's posted and then the name of the slide deck itself. You can do the teacher dashboard view, which that's more useful when you're actually presenting it. But what I like to do is you go to the three dots over here and then you click on export to spreadsheet. And what that does is it sends all of your students' information, the answers that they recorded, and it's all organized by their email address to a spreadsheet. And then you can go ahead and you can review that information and decide once again if you need to reteach or where you need to take this or go with this information. You can also use that for grading, or just simply an accountability feature where you're, reaching out to the students who are not interacting with the content. Thanks so much for listening. Let me know if you have any questions, and I really hope that you find this useful.